Okay guys, now you need to put your power cable, it might be a different power cable, this is the Australian version or the Chinese version, whichever you want to talk about. More Australian than Chinese, they've copied it. So you need to bring your power in. I've brought it in through here. Now I'm going to celastic that, and I'm going to bring this up through here. I might not celastic it actually, because if I celastic that at the moment, I might not be able to get a communication wire up if I need that for the sensor. So I'll probably do that myself and see if I can get a sensor that's cheaper than the ones they use, but they're pretty much the same, you know, like they're just a on-off sensor. They sense something, they've got a reflector on the other end, and they've got some sort of IR diode in them to pick up the sensitivity. So I will run that up through the guts here, through this main hole. I don't know whether you can see that, sorry about the camera work, or hopefully I can fix that later. Straight through there, through the main hole. If I bring it up, you can see the light coming up, but there is no holes around the outside, so you've got to bring it up through that hole in the base, and that's the best way to go. Now the Chinese versions of this, which I got one recently, which I didn't use, I sent it back. It was, all the wiring was poor. I'll try and put a photo in. The person was fantastic, it wasn't their fault. The Chinese person, wasn't their fault that the problem happened. Not going to blame them. Just they didn't really think about their engineering very well, so they could have turned down a piece of metal instead of having it flat. Anyway, keep moving along. Hey guys, Chuck's here. Now, last night I found that I was installing this Scent system, or Century, I think they were originally called. Now, I had to change these two wires around because my gate is going the opposite way to what they say. Whatever you do, don't put oil in there because that's a sensor. I haven't done it, but you can do it. I've heard you can. The oil actually goes in the center there where that yellow, the red thing for the gearbox is. Now you have to loosen it off, so you tighten that fully and it pushes a screw in and pushes it that way. Now that's a 12-volt motor that they provide with it. Now I know my videoing isn't very good, but there's a 12-volt Scent motor, and I had to drill a hole into here because I have a bowl sitting right there near where these come along. Now I've put these up 10 mil, so that it says to go up 7, but 10 mil, and then because it actually says 7 mil and then it says another 3 mil, so you might as well put it up 10 mil. Now what I use to put it up 10 mil, I use my vernier, and on the other side of the vernier you've got a little piece of metal that comes out the bottom, and that's exactly the right height. So I've set them. Don't forget to put your washers on, you need to put them on, get your height right, and then you've just got to put the racking on, which is our next job. If you've got a steel rack, a steel piece at the end, that welding will be in the way, so you need to cut that one rack off. It is advisable that you do that. The professionals do it. Okay guys, there's a actual connection block on the side here which you can connect straight in. Don't use this front one, it is available, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look at the manual, but I'm thinking it says here that you can hook into here, so I'd say it will be easy to hook into this on the side and then hook the wires onto it, and then it will be out of the way of the battery. And just be careful with this wire here, it seems to be getting caught, and that is your charging cable for your battery. So yeah, and that's coming out of that unit as well, so just be careful. Alright, let's keep working on it. It's a bit loose really, the connector, so be very careful with it. In the center, right there, let's see if I can pull them out. Yep, there they are. They come attached. I'll have to flip that, I suppose. Yeah, they're coming attached there, so they go on your battery. You go to your battery terminals on your motor, so it should say 12 volt positive and negative next to the motor terminals for the 12 volt motor. All these triggers and all the rest of it, don't have to worry about it at the moment. Here's your encoder for your remotes, so they have a rolling code, I believe. Some of the ones from China do not have a rolling code. And okay, so I've drilled a hole in here right there so that it's got some sort of stress relief, because this cable has no stress relief on it. I've also put a zip tie around the actual power box to stop the cable from going anywhere, and I've put it all in here. So the bottom is earth, the top is active, and the middle is neutral. So there's your colours that you get. Right, this is my RAS rail. Now it's a bit different to the ones I show on the videos. So I've got that lined up already. I drilled a hole into it. I've checked the level. Now I've gone the opposite way here. I've gone to the gearbox. You can't see it through there. I've got two boxes here. I've gone over the top of the gearbox. It's sitting on that gearbox. And so I will connect this one and that one in. Now I've also pushed it in. So I've given it a push that way. And if you see, the gate's actually moving. And I come back and I double check my level as I'm going. And yeah, that's about it. So good luck with that bit. I'm going to screw those in, or two of them in, one up the end, one here to get that level. Now I'm going to check it again, and I'm not going to put any more than one each second one to make sure they've got it right, and go from there. So good luck on that one. Okay, I don't know whether you can see this, but can you see the next problem we've got? I'll try and zoom in. Okay, we've got a lock in there. We've got one to the left of it. Now the problem is that actually affecting that wheel? Is that going to affect the wheel once we put it in? I'm not sure. So yeah, you'd think you would have moved that a little bit to the left, but there's nothing much you can do about it. So yeah, be very careful. You might screw into your wheels because they're deep in the actual cavity. So yeah, hopefully when I bring it up, it's not going to affect that wheel. Okay, that's it for me. I'll keep moving on. I'm hoping I'm not going to cut into that wheel. Okay, so I've drilled right up the top, hoping that I'm not going to hit this wheel, which is there, and I would say it would come right up. A bit worried about this. If I have to, I could probably just cut the end of that off to remove part of this and just screw it in just enough to hold it in position. What's your ideas? Leave me a comment below and let's discuss this. Go. I've turned it sideways because you can't put it up flat because of the rack of pinion, and it's not affecting the wheels now, which is good. So we'll go forward and we'll do the other two wheels and keep moving on. So it continues. We've got 3 meters in, and we've just leveled that off, made sure it's on top of that cog because you're going to drop it down 3, and yeah, she's coming along quite nicely. I went and bought a proper tool to do the job. If you haven't got anything magnetic, don't even bother. There's too much stuffing around. Now you need to bring these screws at the bottom down 3 turns anti-clockwise. So it's really hard because you have to get it on here and turn it, and you don't have much room. So I had to cut down a 17mm spanner to get in there. I didn't use that one, and then I've got to get in here, which I'm going to use the other one on the other side. And the first thing I've got to do is get that cog right underneath the wheels and make sure it's centered in the center. So at the moment it's pretty much not perfect, which is, yeah, see how I just moved it? I just moved it a little bit. So I'm going to have to turn it, push it in a little bit further. So, to get it right. And then that should, from this angle, you should be able to see it. That should lock it in the right spot. Now that'll need to go in a teeny bit more, but not much more. And that should be it. And then I just need to tighten everything. Now, like I said, I cut a piece in there and I'm going to use a 17mm, but you can't get in behind here because you've got your reed switch, what they call a reed switch sensor, which measures your magnetic field from here to the reed switch and shuts down on the gate, slows it down. So you'll need to be careful. You might have to use an open-ended ratchet type spanner to get into that back corner, and I have got no idea if I'm going to be able to do that. So at the moment, yeah, I can do it, but it's not much room at all. That's going to go backwards. So make sure you get your arrows right on your ratchet. I don't even think I'm going to get that to turn, so it's going to be really fun to try and get that last one in. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so you can pop that off and you can tighten the front one up. It's only the one on the right that's going to have a lot of problems. I did try to cut it out the right size, but I did actually grab the other meter inch kit and it seems to be bigger than the old meter inch kit for some reason. Never mind, we'll get it worked out. And so yeah, just tighten that up and then pop that sensor back onto that pole over here. I don't know whether you can see that. Anyway, okay, when you're fitting your sensor, I've still got to put some gaps in behind my rail, because sometimes on these fences, when they do the powder coating, they stuff up and they hang it the wrong way, and then it heats up all of the welds and bends the actual thing like a banana. This plate goes underneath here. This is 500mm out, right? So if you watched other videos and they say, well, we've got to put it 13mm from the blue sensor once the cover's on, hey guys, sorry about the audio, I'm right next to a road. I had to put spacers in gate. They powder-coated it and stuffed the actual welds. When they powder coat and they heat it up too high, and if it's not long ways, you're going to get a warp in the actual gate. So I've had to put spacers in. I went out to Bunnings and I got some of this spacer stuff. I had some of this hanging around as well, so that's fine. So you can just pop them in. You'll need longer screws, of course. I think I got 60mm long. They're 14 gauge, so they're 14 gauge on this thing. So yeah, this will bring it out so that it connects. This thing here definitely needs to be 5mm from the sensor, otherwise you'll lose it. You won't get the sensor to work properly. That came from a relative that does this professionally and does it all the time. What else can I say? Hopefully I'll get this finished today and we'll have it going, and then the next video will be on how to automate this thing through the internet without playing around with the actual box. Okay, catch you on the next one. Last thing, make sure that you've got this actual level set up, because you might go out, you might use the same holes, but it might not be level. So make sure that you're hooked on to here and then level it to the other end. Okay guys, we're up to the bit where we've got to put the thing together. Right, first thing you need to do is have your keys, and at the moment I've got it in unlock mode, but that's in unlock mode, fully in. That's off. So making sure that your gate can push forward and be over the cog the whole time. Now, when you go past the actual switch, you should hear a click. So that should be 5 mil. That's your stop, your magnetic stop. That should be 500 meters from the actual device when it's fully shut. So you just check that. It'll go all the way over the top of that. If you feel it's got a bump or something, you might have to adjust the rail up or down, depending. So it's a bit tight there. I might have to adjust that. Okay, we'll set this right on 500. So 500 from the end of the gate. I'm hoping this is going to work. So we're going to move that in the position, which is 500. Probably check that. Now you don't have to over tighten the grub screws. So let's reset that. Till we get it right. There. So just tighten a bit on each end first. You don't have to over tighten it. And then what we want to do is we want to hear that click. Come back. Yep, the click's there. So right, so that's it for that. Okay, there's a couple of different options you can do here. You can leave the gate shut, you can leave it fully open, or you can center it in the middle. The middle isn't going to give you your accuracy, it's only if you're getting a fault. Now if you've got a fault with the system and you get the and it only moves about that far on your, or maybe that far on your startup, then it sounds like you've got a DOSS fault, which is your, it's called a grey code encoder, which measures how far your gate goes. So your the thing that says don't put oil in it, if you put oil in it, or which I haven't, but if you put oil in it, you're going to stuff up that encoder. And if you haven't put oil in it, sometimes it doesn't, it's not dark enough for the encoder to work. So they're the two different fault codes that you can get. You'll get no end stops and no sensor. And yeah, so now I'm just going to go through what I've already shown you that I had the fault on, but just go through the setup. Now the setup goes very slow. The first time the speed's very slow when you start it up. Now if you're having faults, go to DuckDuckGo to get the fault manual. So if that doesn't move, it's normally the DOSS sensor. Now the DOSS sensor hides in here, and yeah, I've got a wood cricket that wants the bloody cockroach that wants to live inside that box, but he's not going there because he's going that way. Anyway, so now it's opening. Now if it's not doing this, it's not working properly, and you'll have to check that DOSS sensor. It's going to hit the end stop in a second. So the end stop is that end stop over there, which I don't know whether you can see it. I'm going to bring you around. It's just there. Let's just hit it. My cameras work is playing up. I'm going to have to play with it. So now it's moving a little bit quicker back into position, and that completes the setup. So the setup's all done. We're happy with that. Now it's going to do it again. I don't know why, but it's doing it again. It's picking up a little bit of speed, as you do, and it's going back to that connector here. If I can get it from the side, you might be able to see it. You can see the stop up the end, so it's hit that. Now that second one was for speed. Now it's all done. So the first one is for distance. The first setup is for distance, the second one is for speed. Yes. So I might have to adjust that a little bit more to bring it down a little bit. Looking at it, it's a bit high. I might bring that down a little bit more. And yeah, pretty much the RAS rack, make sure that it's got 3mm between it, 3mm. And yeah, if it only moves about that far, you know you've got a DOSS sensor problem. Or you can check your motor by connecting the motor directly to the battery. But you need to remove the blue and black wire first.